Good morning, everyone. We are very honored to have this chance to share our research with you. This exploitation, we name it as Ghost Telephonist. This is about a bug in Switched Fallback process in LTE network. Now, let me firstly give a brief self-introduction. My name is Qing. I'm the founder and leader of Unicom team. Unicom team is a group in Qihoo 360 technology, and 360 is a leading internet security company in China. Our core products are antivirus security software on computer and cell phones. Unicom team focuses on security issues in many kinds of wireless systems. Our previous works include GPS spoofing in DEFCON 23, LTE redirection attack in DEFCON 24, and the PRC attack in Black Hat last year. Okay, sorry. This time, we bring the topic about the CSFB vulnerability. First, we will show you a demo video. Then we will introduce how we found this vulnerability. We will discuss the technical details and several exploitations. And later, we will show another demo video about attacking internet accounts. Finally, we will give the countermeasures. Okay, let's watch the demo video. Oh, sorry. First, we use the two force to call each other, so verify the phone numbers. The left four is a victim, right four is a unicorn. Then we start a counter to see how much time it takes to mount the attack. So now we have successfully hijacked the wireless call. Let's go on attack the SMS, short message service. So we can successfully hijack the SMS, and furthermore, we can choose which SSM the victim receives. We can block or pass any SMS. Okay, the last four have one SMS, and the right four has two SMS. Okay, now please welcome my team member Huang and Zheng Yuwei to present the details. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Lin. Let me give more details about this vulnerability. China has a saying that a flower does not grow sometimes when you purposely plant it, whereas a willow grows and offers a shade sometimes when you purposelessly transplant it. At the beginning of this year, we were working on a project about the well-known GSM man-in-the-middle attack, and we're debugging some modifications on Osmocom BB. We tried to send fake paging response, and then we were surprised to find the fake paging response messages were accepted by the network. There's no authentication, and the core was successfully built up. We think it is quite strange, so we tried to have a deep look into it. Let's imagine this scenario, the attack scenario. The attacker, we name it as a Ghost Telephonist, can impersonate the victim's cell phone to receive the call. This vulnerability has high risk. Okay. This picture shows our experiment setting. We use C118 cell phone, this one and this one, where Osmocom BB layer 1 is running. And the C118 is connected to a laptop which runs Osmocom BB layer 2 and 3. In this picture, we use two C118 cell phones to improve the attack efficiency. The attack steps in our experiments are listed here. And you can see in the first step is listening the paging channel. And secondly, extract the TMSI or IMSI in the paging messages. In third step, we will forge a paging response message with the captured TMC or IMC. So after this step, the core setup procedure will happen. And if not, we will wait for the next paging message and repeat the process again. So at that time, we don't know why some fake paging response work, but some not. Here is one success example. A fake paging response successfully received a call from the number 139 blah 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 and 920. So this picture confirms that there is really a hijack link. So once the telephonist hijacked an incoming call, what can he do in further? The caller will recognize the callee's voice is abnormal, right? But the attacker may do something like social engineering. For example, say your friend encountered an accident and he's in hospital. He needs $2,000 for rescue costs. So in this scenario, it may generate serious consequences. And anyway, now the attacker only knows the victim's TMSI or IMSI. So can we know the victim's cell phone number for further attack? See this picture. It's a surprise that we found. During one hijacked call, the telephonist can make a call out to another cell phone by sending CM service request message. And the surprise is this does not trigger authentication either. The network will directly respond a CM service accept. So by this way, we can see the victim's phone number on the screen of this cell phone. We call it phone number catcher. Here we summarize the attack steps by showing the signaling flow. Telephonist gets the control from here. It sends paging response. And then the network sends back setup. And then the core is confirmed. After core is hijacked, the telephonist makes a core out from here by sending a hold message and then CM service request. We can see the network side sends back a setup message. It doesn't require authentication here. This picture shows the PCAP records. Here are the records captured by Wireshark on the laptop that Osmocom BB is running on. You can see from here the hold message to the end of this core. The network does not require authentication. And we found as long as the telephonist doesn't hang up this core, the connection will be maintained. And at the same time, short messages can be received or transmitted. Until now, we are still not clear about why some attacks succeed, but some do not. So is this problem introduced by the old and vulnerable GSM network? No, we don't think so. We found if we set the cell phone to 2G only, every core requires authentication. So where is the problem? See the left picture. This is the signaling log on a cell phone. In the part of the red circle, we confirmed that in normal 2G core, authentication does exist for every core. But when we captured the 4G mode signaling, we found when the cell phone has a CS4 core, the cell phone falls back to 2G and then sends paging response. The network doesn't require authentication. We found the root of this problem is here in CS4 mode. Okay, now let's briefly introduce the voice solutions in LTE network. As we all know, different from the 2G and 3G in LTE network, the circuit switch was removed. Only a packet switch is left. Now there are mainly three solutions for voice in LTE. The first one is VoLTE, voice over IP. This is the final objective of the network evolution. And the second solution is the case we discussed today, CS4 circuit switched fallback. It means when taking voice core in the cell phone has to switch from 4G to 3G or 2G. The third solution is simultaneous voice and LTE. The cell phone keeps two connections simultaneously. One is 4G and the other is 3G or 2G. This solution has higher price and more rapid power consumption on the terminal because it has two basebands running. This picture illustrates the network architecture. UE means user equipment, the cell phone. And the three middle blocks stand for three kinds of radio access network, 2G, 3G, and 4G. And the right two blocks are the core network elements. The upper one is for 2G and 3G, MSC. And the lower one is for 4G, MME. There is the SGS, the interface between MSC and MME. The connection makes the two elements can synchronize the cell phone's location information. And when 4G MME receives the attach or location update information, it will forward it to the MSC. These are called as combined attach or combined tracking area update. This is the normal signaling flow of a CS4 procedure. When there is a core, for a UE. The network firstly sends paging message from MME to the UE. Be noticed here, it's sent on the 4G network, right? And the 4G eNode B sends RRC connection release message here. In this message, the network tells the UE which 2G base station it should connect. In this step, there is another vulnerability we presented in last year, that is the LTE redirection attack. This problem is still under discussion in 3GPP standardization group, and it hasn't a final solution now. So when the UE falls back to 2G, it will send a paging response from UE directly to the 2G MSC. As we said, there is no authentication here. So the whole principle is like the network has different doors. For example, the left door is the door of LTE, and the right door is the door for GSM. So no matter which door subscriber wants to enter, the door requires the subscriber to show the badge of this door. Once the badge processes the check, this subscriber enters the network space. And now there is one exception. One subscriber goes out from the door of LTE and go to the door of the GSM. He shouts, "Be quick, I have a call in GSM." And in this urgent case, the door of GSM does not check his badge. And now, okay, let my colleague Yuwei to introduce how to exploit this vulnerability.
Good morning, I'm Yuwei. Now let me introduce how to exploit. Well, due to the lack of authentication in the CS fallback, attackers can forge paging response in 2G network, impersonating the victim, thus hijack the victim's call link. In this figure, UE-V represents victim. UE-F represents the attacker. Then there is an incoming call for the victim. The MSC in the 2G network will request the MME in the 4G network to transmit paging request. When the victim receives the paging request, it will send to ENB and extend the service request to ask for a CS fallback to accept the incoming call in 2G. In the normal scenario, after fallback, the victim will send the paging response to establish a connection. But in this attacking scenario, because the attacker is constantly sending paging response with the victim's TMC number, so the call is taken by the attacker. In the random hijack exploitation, the attacker listens on the 2G paging channel, extract TMC from the paging request, and then forge and send the paging response constantly. However, the network standard said the 4G network should send the paging request with STMC, and the STMC has no relation with 2G TMC. So someone may ask, why would the network send the paging request on 2G side, while the standard said it should send the paging request on the 4G side? I don't know either, but the fact is we found that C118 also receives CS4back paging request on 2G side. So, my guess is the operators configured the network to do so in order to optimize the network to decrease the latency or set up a voice call. As we discussed before, it's a procedure of random attack. This means we don't know precisely what caused this vulnerability. So we decided to make a targeted attack to attack a test phone, which gave us the ability to debug and log the signaling. After our investigation, we found two ways to implement a targeted persistent hijack. First, we can send the paging response back constantly using test phone TMC or EMC, which we can get easily, no matter whether there is paging request or not. Or we could use the ISDN number, also known as cell phone number. In this case, we know the victim's phone number. We can call the victim and capture the victim's TMC in the error. Then, we can launch a targeted hijack via previous mentioned attack method. Let's go on to the next slide and introduce the details about how to implement a targeted hijack. Firstly, we can use TMC to attack the victim as we discussed. With this attacking method, we could constantly send the paging response to the network using the victim's TMC. Once there is a call to the victim, the call procedure will set up. We can directly take over this procedure because we can respond to paging requests quicker than the victim. That also means we successfully performed a targeted hijack. Secondly, implementing targeted attack with EMC basically requires the same steps as using TMC, but this method has some potential disadvantages. The success rate is much lower than using TMC because when the network side receives paging response with EMC, it needs time to look up the corresponding TMC, thus increase the link setup time. But the victim will directly send the legal paging response with TMC and set up the link quicker than us, while network is still looking up TMC with EMC. Finally, when we have the victim's phone number, we can attack the victim in the following way. We need 23118 and a banner phone, as shown in the figure. Here is the steps. Firstly, we set up a 318 as a sniffer. Then, we use the banner phone to call the victim and trigger a regular CS4back procedure. Our sniffer will log the whole procedure, including paging response, call setup, etc. Please notice the call setup signaling contains caller's phone number. That means we can locate the specific call setup signaling and trace back to find corresponding paging response, and finally extract the victim's TMC. Now, we have our victim TMC, so we can follow the steps we mentioned before to hijack the victim. After introduction of our attack model, we'd like to let you know what's the advantage of this attack. During the attack, the victim will stay in 4G network and enjoy his normal data access. He can use Google or talk with friends using WhatsApp without any issue. The victim won't sense our attack unless someone tells him he can't be reached via cell phone call. The other major advantage of this attack is we don't need expensive equipment to perform this attack. We don't need an expensive 4G base station. We only need some fake 2G UE, like cheap C118. During our test, we noticed attacking victims having different chipsets will result in different success rate. We have tested 5 models of cell phones. All of them can be hijacked with about 90% success rate. However, some of them, which we marked with a star in this table, will lose the connection after 10 seconds of successful hijack. The connection loss also means our further attack is failed. Why there is such kind of feeling exists when we attack different cell phones with different chipsets. Here we want to clarify what's the definition of successful hijack. If an attacker sends a paging response and he receives a call, we call this procedure as a successful hijack. But this doesn't mean we can use and keep this link to do something evil. The call we thus hijacked might be interrupted due to some reason. After we tested and analyzed, the major reason causing this issue is the way chipsets manufacturers' implementation of fast return procedure of 4G network. If the victim's cell phone didn't receive the call, it will launch a location area update procedure in 2G and finally lead to the failure of our attack. Here we explain this issue by taking Qualcomm and MediaTek chipsets as examples. In this figure, the green area is 4G signaling. The area marked as red rectangular is 2G signaling. It means the victim failed back to 2G, but it didn't get its call, so it quickly returned to 4G. In the 2G signaling, you can see Qualcomm chipset sends location updating request, but there is no location updating except following that every time. So we doubt if the chipset really performs this location updating request procedure. In this case, the attack will be successfully because the LAU procedure is not complete. So we can maintain the connection to do something evil. On the other hand, we can see the difference between MediaTek and Qualcomm. While the victim's phone fell back to 2G, it also didn't get its call. But before returning to 4G, the LAU signaling has been sent out. There is a location updating except immediately following that. In this case, our victim will get a new TMC. That's why our connection will be lost 10 seconds after being successful hijack. To solve such chipset issue, we can use a jamming device to stop the victim sending LAU signaling to the base station. Then we could maintain this hijacked link. But the disadvantage of this solution is also obvious. A victim will sense network exceptions. Now let me introduce our evil attacking.
Well, let me continue to introduce a more complex attack, attack the internet accounts. We know that to simplify the user experience, many internet applications permits login with the cell phone number plus the verification short messages. And it doesn't require importing login password, right? And if the attacker obtains the victim's cell phone number and verification short messages, he can impersonate the victim to access the application. So this is one attack path. And another attack path is using verification short messages to reset the login password. Yes, this may change the subscriber's password by the attacker. As we all know, there are some existing exploitations which can obtain verification short message, except telephonist attack. For example, SS7 vulnerability can hijack both core and short messages, or some malware applications on cell phones which can hijack the short message content. So our attack method is just a new way, but not the only one. We verified this attack of password reset on some of the internet application, including Facebook, Google account, etc. And the attack steps are illustrated here, a little complex. You can see in step 1, control the victim's link and get the phone number. And in step 2, here, use the computer, open the web page of the Facebook, and request to reset password with the acquired phone number. And in step 3, here, the Ghost Telephonist catched this verification short message. And finally, in step 4, we use this verification code to reset the login password. And this screenshot shows the C18's log. This record in the red rectangle proves that the C18 received a verification short message sent from Facebook. Here you can see CP data from network to the MS. We investigated the password reset routing of many popular websites and applications, including global and Chinese ones. This table summarized some of them. Facebook, Google, WhatsApp, popular in China, Alipay, WeChat, popular in China, and Didi, Sina Weibo, etc. Some of them require sending SMS from internet to cell phones, the inbound ones. And some of them require sending short message from cell phone to the internet, the outbound one. So no matter which direction need, the telephonist can send or receive the verification messages. Okay, here is a demo video. It records the whole attack procedure when we attack the Google account. And this video was recorded in March this year. We know in this month, July, we noticed that Google already announced a new two-factor authentication scheme. This new scheme delivers the verification code through Google's internal application on Android cell phones. So maybe now our attack doesn't work. Now let's see this video. Okay, this C118 is a sniffer. 2 cell phones, and this is the attacker. And firstly, we check the 2 cell phones works in normal mode. Use this one, call this one. And calls back. Both normally connected to the network. And during this process, we captured the team C. Yes, we got the team C here. Set this team C as the target. Now let's check again. Call the victim cell phone. Here is connected, but it's connected here. Okay, so now we control the link of these victims. We send the reset password request. Receive the verification short message here. Imported. Okay, now we can reset it. Create a new password. Now we sign in. Yeah, it's done. Now you may see the victim cell phone is still under 4G mode. It wasn't aware of this attack. Okay. Well, now you may think this attack is so dangerous, but we want to say that don't worry too much. There are some constraints of this attack. Okay. In this page, we summarize the constraints to launch the attack. The first one is the telephonist and the victim should be in the same paging area. This area may be several base stations coverage. And the attack is feasible only when 2G network is in use and uses A51 or A50 encryption. This means as long as 2G network is ready, is available, no matter this CSFB requires fallback to 3G, and as long as 2G network is available, this hijack will will be feasible. And compared with other known exploitations, telephonist attack has following features. It doesn't need to access SS7 core network. It doesn't need fake base station. And the big team keeps online in 4G network and is not aware of this attack. So how to deal with this vulnerability? We proposed the countermeasures to operators and some organizations. We suggest to enable authentication in CS Fallback. This is the easiest way to solve this problem. And we think the added latency for the core setup is acceptable. And the final solution is VoLTE, VoLTE. Operators may speed up its VoLTE service deployment to completely solve this problem. And for internet service provider, they should pay attention to that the PSTN authentication is not safe. We know there are several kinds of attacks, right, which can obtain the voice core and short messages. So now we know Google has started its first step. Alternatively, the password reset procedure should be improved by additional personal information check, for example, to ask the subscriber, who is your friend, which deal did you made in last month, for example, to check this is the real subscriber to reset password. Okay, so finally, we want to talk about the GSM CVD program. In this year, GSMA launched a coordinated vulnerability disclosure program called the CVD program. This is the first program that focuses on open standards, which are not proprietary to a specific vendor. Previously, when we found the protocol vulnerabilities, we had not a good place to report it. We know CVE, but CVE is a platform not suitable for standard and protocol vulnerabilities. So we're happy now we have a good platform to report the standard-based vulnerability. We reported this problem to CVD program in March of this year. And this vulnerability became the first one after CVD program started. And we received the first acknowledgement on the Mobile Security Research Hall of Fame. GSMA already forwarded this vulnerability information to every operators, we think. Now, related operators are fixing, or some of them already fixed this problem. Okay, thank you for your attention. So, any questions?
Hello. This attacks is valid on every TMZ relocation on every core?
You mean every TMZ?
Yeah, every TMZ is relocated on every core?
It depends on the operator's configuration. According to our observation, we found in some operators' network, the TMZ will frequently change. For example, after every core, it will update the TMZ. But for some operators' configuration, we found if this UE stayed in this position for a long time, as long as it stays in this location area, the TMZ will keep same for a very long time, almost a half day, for example. So it depends on the configuration of operators. Thank you.
I have an additional question. Do you know if this affected the majority of carriers or if it was related to a particular region?
Sorry, I didn't get the point.
Does this flaw, did it apply to the majority of carriers in the world, or was it only particular regions that were susceptible?
Yes, we think it for a particular configuration of the operators. We investigated, we tested the signaling flow in different countries, for example, in China and in Europe countries and in Singapore. So there are different cases, but most of them, let's say, just enable once authentication, only once in authentication when this UE entering a location in a LAC, a location area. So, it also depends on the encryption scheme. So if this operator enabled, for example, A53 encryption algorithm, so it's also secure and safe, and it's immune to our attack.
Thank you. One other quick question. Did it always require the victim to be able to call back? I'm sorry, maybe I missed the detail, but I know in the demo the victim had to call back. Was that always a prerequisite for the attack to occur?
You mean the
victim had to call back. Is that a requirement for this attack to work? In other words, if I receive a call from someone I don't know, I'm probably not going to call them back. Was that a requirement that the victim has to call back in order for this to work?
And if the victim calls back, it may interrupt this attack.
But the video basically showed you called the victim and then the victim called back.
Okay.
And so that was part of your attack. Do you require the victim to call back in order to complete the attack?
I know your point. Actually, we introduced very detailed about the MT core hijack, okay, mobile terminated core. So in this case, it requires to trigger the paging process, and then we hijack the core. But in some case, we find it's also possible to make an MO core. So in that case, this victim cell phone doesn't need to make a core.
Thank you.
Okay. So thank you everyone.